Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. Are you a goofball that loves Giants football? If so, sit back and relax as we talk about the team that both excites and frustrates us so much. And now, here are your goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, to Two Giant Goofballs, the New York Giants podcast. I am Drew, joined as always by...
I'm me, Rob. Let's talk about them boys getting the boys' butt beats. Can I take that back? That sounded wrong. Can we talk about them cow pukes getting their butts beat?
That seems a little better than eating the butts of boys.
We're not in Greece.
Yeah.
Jeez.
That's how you get on certain lists at all.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, man.
Don't cancel me.
All right, guys. Guess what we get to talk about today? Week 1.
Football!
Football is officially back. It is time. So before we get into the game itself here, guys, we do got two little bits of Giants notes here for you, all wide receiver oriented here. So first off,
silly news.
Kenny Galladay. Kenny Galladay, I haven't heard his name in a while, thankfully. But guess what? He went for a visit with the New York Jets. Continuing the tradition of New York Jets getting washed up Giants receivers like Plaxico Burress. He came back from his shooting incident and all. What is it with like the Jets are the team that gets like people's leftovers? They get leftover quarterbacks, leftover wide receivers. They just leftovers, and more leftovers there for some reason. I'm not sure what it is, but they just for some reason cannot help themselves.
I mean, everyone's talking about the Jets being that New York team that's going to make that move this year. They're going
Kenny Galladay's missing piece. I get it now. Kenny Galladay.
I get it. Kenny Galladay. Yeah, no, he's not the answer.
No, he's not. Unless the question is, who's a crappy receiver who should never play in the football in NFL again?
Yeah.
What is going on there? Got a little party going now.
Hey, you know.
What is that? Taylor Swift I hear in the background. Alrighty,
baby.
So next up, DeAndre Hopkins released a little bit of juicy news today. So apparently, when he was a free agent, him and his people went ahead and contacted 4 teams to see if they'd be interested in his services. The 49ers, the Cowboys, the Lions, and our New York Football Giants. And all those teams didn't call him back. That's kind of shocking. I mean, I would have thought they would at least be a conversation, but I guess Joe Shane just didn't see him as a fit with the New York Giants. So, you know.
I mean, it's that and the cat.
So, I mean
you got to look at it like this guy, D-Hop, wants to win a ring. That's obvious. He was looking to go out to teams that were trying to win a ring. And
are you all right there? Is there like a fight going on in the background? Sounds like American Gladiators back there.
There's a bunch of Q-tips in the background going off. But no, D-Hop wants to win a ring. He was trying to sell it to a team that he thought he could go there with and make the difference. And look what the Giants did without number one. Is the one thing I want to say. The second thing I want to say is, well, the first thing I should have said was we don't have the cap. We don't have the cap for that guy.
No, we don't. We never had the cap. He's not a good fit. I don't. I'm shocked they didn't at least pick up the phone call and have a conversation, just a courtesy conversation. But he's not a fit in the end. They shouldn't have gone for him. So I'm glad they didn't. I think he's a good fit in Tennessee, who needed obviously some wide receiver help there. So hopefully it works out for him in Tennessee.
Yeah.
So, all righty, guys, it's on to the moment we've been waiting for. We get to talk about the New York Giants. Before we get started into the game itself, let's give you guys a little bit of update on the injury report here. So, as far as what we got here on the Giants side, much of what we've been talking about all along. Gary Brightwell, Cam Brown, Lawrence Cager, DJ Davidson, Cardell Flott, Javarius Owens, Wan'Dale Robinson, all limited in practice. The big name really on that list is Wan'Dale Robinson, who from every account I'm reading, basically don't expect the guy to play. It's probably not going to happen. So, in the end, if we go with one player that they can't actually suit up, that's not a bad start to the season, guys. There's a hell of a lot worse out there. That's for damn sure.
I mean, they had the opportunity to put Wan'Dale in the pup. They had the opportunity to do other things with him, but they see him playing fairly soon. So he doesn't play week 1. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, no, like I said, I didn't expect to see him on the list even this quickly, so I'll take that in a heartbeat. I thought he'd be on the IR to start the season. I thought we wouldn't see him till maybe, quarter of the way, midway through. So if he's only out for a week or two, which is what I'm guessing the Giants are thinking is going to happen, since they didn't put him on the IR to start the season, then that's not a bad situation for him. So Dallas Cowboys injury wise, theirs is much worse than ours. It's nice to say that for once. So we already talked yesterday about Tyler Smith, who's had a hamstring injury, hasn't been able to practice the first couple of weeks, the first couple of days of this week's practice here. Tyron Smith now, their left tackle, rolled his ankle in practice today. So he was also limited.
No.
So both their left guard, left tackle, now having injury issues. Now, both of them may very well play, but they also very well want to play at 100%. And that's the key to this whole situation. Because if you have the both players on the left side of that line, the blind side, not fully healthy, it might be time at that point. Go blitz, 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 and do a little blitzkrieg bop there. Full on Wink Martindale style there. So
that 40-something, 45% blitz is going to turn into 50, 55.
Oh, yeah.
Pass.
Oh, yeah.
Make Dak make mistakes.
He does without any help.
And you know what? There's talks that he might play conservative this year because he's playing for a contract.
Well, he's playing to keep a contract. We should specify. So, but yeah, I think honestly they're going to count on him more than ever. But we'll get into that in a little bit here. Donovan Wilson who has a calf injury. Their secondary member there who hasn't practiced the last 2 times there. Sam Williams has a foot injury. Did not practice on Wednesday, but was limited to practice on Thursday. So he seems to be doing a little bit better. But still, again, foot injury when you're a pass rusher, not a good thing. You go right off that foot. So we'll keep an eye on things as the week progresses and give you guys updates where we can there. But like I said, looks like for the most part, most of the players are going to be healthy in this game on the Giants. And the big thing to watch out for on the Cowboys side is that left side of the offensive line. We want to really make sure that they, go ahead and get hopefully continue, I should say, to be injured so we can go ahead and really take advantage. That could be a very key part of this game. So let's go ahead and go over for you guys here. First part of the game when we are on offense. Alrighty, so the big stories obviously has been the new weapons this year. That's obviously the biggest thing for the New York Giants here. We got a ton of new players. Obviously, we've talked about them ad nauseum all offseason here. But the one thing
Waller guy.
That
Waller guy.
I've heard he's pretty good.
He's excellent. He's like a unicorn or something.
But the one thing the Giants didn't necessarily improve too much on is the offensive line. They obviously replaced the center position with John Michael Schmitz now instead of John Feliciano. They're hoping for the second sophomore year bump there out of Evan Neal. But that's one of the issues the Cowboys and Giants, were getting into during the regular season last year is the offensive line of the Giants flat out could not deal with the pass rush that the Dallas Cowboys have. And they're bringing back the same guys. I mean, Micah Parsons still there. Dorrance Armstrong's still there. DeMarcus Lawrence is still there. So that hasn't changed. So the big question is, can the Giants stop that pass rush from controlling the game? I fully expect them to make their plays. It's not going to be a thing where all of a sudden we shut out the Cowboys pass rush. That's probably not a realistic expectation to have of the Giants. Their pass rush is better than our pass protection. That's just facts. Absolutely just facts. So the big question again is, can we at least control it, contain it, stop where Daniel Jones can at least, get some time in the pocket to throw the ball? And I'm not so sure on that, to be very frank with you, especially for a rookie game out of JMS. We're still not so sure at Evan Neal. We still, even after the training camp and all, still have the question marks there. And then obviously there's still the questions at guard as well. Glowinski, Zudu, all these. We know Bredeson's, at least going to be good. Not necessarily great, but good. And there's still the question marks there, man. And I just don't know if it's going to be a different situation than it was last year, or if this is going to be a dink and dunk kind of game where Daniel Jones has to get the ball out quick and get yak kind of routes at that point to go ahead and get an offense going for this team.
Yeah, I agree. The offensive line, it's upgraded. How well is it upgraded? We're going to see week one. But I also see Dable looking at the past 2 games that they played against the Cowboys and putting into a lot of trick plays, a lot of play action, a lot of get the ball off fast. And there's going to be a couple where he's going to throw it deep, but there's not going to be a lot. I think it's going to be a lot of repeat of, last year where they're going to have to throw the ball fast. I don't see as a run heavy, but I see a lot of misplay, like throw it to Barkley, throw it to Hyatt, throw it to Slane, throw it to whoever's in the slot, and throw it real fast.
Yeah, and the fast pass routes, that's where it's going to go.
Yeah,
we got enough weapons too to spread out the ball and make.
And if you set up in a play action a lot in this game, and you don't do play action, if you will, that puts a lot of trickery on that defensive line where they don't know where to be, and that's what they're going to have to do to help win this game.
That brings up a very valid point. She says, "Oh, but wait, they have Shane Lemieux." Should we start placing bets on Shane Lemieux entering a game, getting injured, and being out for the season? First game. That's what he does every single year. So
third quarter.
Yeah. So, like I said, I think we can both agree, and I think most people will agree. Again, it's a weakness for us in this matchup is our offensive line versus their pass rush. So we're going to have to see how much of a weakness and what they can do to adjust as they go. The other thing is now we obviously know about, Diggs, their star cornerback they've had for a few years. There's a lot of people that are on either side of the argument of how good he really is. He's very opportunistic, gets the interceptions. He's given up some big games to some receivers that aren't even necessarily that good. Like, the one with the Kadarius Toney got 150 yards against him. But now he's also paired with Stephon Gilmore, the ageless wonder, former Patriot, former Panther, former Colt, now Cowboy. Guy's been around the league since the start of Tom Brady's career, it feels like. But he's getting up there in age, but now being paired with Diggs, he doesn't have to be the number 1 corner. He could be a number 2 corner for a team. And he's a hell of a number 2 corner, as long as he hasn't lost too much steps. I'll put it that way. But they're pretty deep. They got backup corners like Deron Bland, who's been pretty good for them. They got their safeties are also pretty good against the against the pass as well. And I hate they talk so well about the Cowboys this whole episode here, but let's be very honest. Their defense is damn good. It's a damn good defense.
Yeah, they're going to be to sit at least a top 10.
So I'm looking at it from the perspective of we're talking about the pass rush. Now we're talking about the corners. And typically Dallas does run a nickel defense. So the question is how to exploit that, basically. And to me, I think the key is going to be we got to spread out our offense to spread out their defense. Because you want to know how you stop Micah Parsons from blitzing like crazy?
He doesn't know where to go.
No, you force him to cover. You force him to cover. He can't blitz if he's lined up on either side with a tight end on him and he has to cover. And I think that's going to be the key. Get these guys not knowing what's going on, spread out the lines, spread out the offense.
So Micah Parsons doesn't know where he has to go. Yeah,
exactly.
That's what I said. He said no.
Don't you mansplain me.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of 12-22 setups in this game. There's going to be a lot of quick dunk passes. There's going to be a lot of passes to Barkley in the backfield where they don't. It's going to be a lot of trickery play. Expect the play action. Expect a lot of tight end throws.
Expect the unexpected.
But expect it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what you're going to see. If you see it with Bellinger on one side, you see Waller on the other side, you put slot receivers out there, really, and you go with, you can go empty backfield even if you have to. Let's be honest. We don't have any running back that's really that good of a pass protector. We really don't. The scary thing is that Breda may be the best one we have, and he's not that big a guy either. Barkley, never been his strong suit. Eric Gray has looked pretty bad at times this preseason already with it. So, go empty backfield at that point if you have to. Put two defense, put two tight ends like we talked about there. Have the slot receiver out there. Put 5-6 people going to be out like that. Go for it. Spread it out, man. I'm telling you, it's going to be one of those things that's probably your best bet to try to go ahead and beat this defense is to just throw them for a loop, have no idea where to cover, and if you really want to exploit another way, I still think they're still weak at the defensive tackle position. You could just run them up the gut with Barkley.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you do Barkley in the backfield and you got Bellinger and Waller on each side, and you got a couple slots.
Yeah.
What are they going to do? They don't know where the ball's going to go. You could do a play action, turn around, and actually throw it to Barkley. And everyone's confused.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You'll see that kind of double tight end set or empty backfield, have 3 wide receivers, 2 tight ends out there, and you're going to see that kind of stuff to spread the field out, because that's the only way that I see the Giants setting up for success with the way this pass protection is going to have to try to compete with a much better pass rush at that point.
So, but again, you do that a lot. But if you do that a lot in the first half, and when they set up in the I formation in the second half, and they're expecting to run, deep ball throw.
Oh yeah, and there's going to be some deep balls. I fully expect them to give Daniel Jones the shot to take a couple of big hits down the field, because you got Darius Slayton, obviously, who's been a good player for that. But you didn't go out and get the speed guys like Hyatt, Campbell. You can even say Waller, because he's not necessarily fast for a receiver, but for a tight end, he's pretty fast.
Yeah.
You didn't get these kind of weapons to do 5-yard dink and dunks the whole entire game, but you may have to do a primary dink and dunk kind of offense because of that pass rush. But that will open, you kind of get the safeties and all to sneak up a little bit, and you can go for one over the top, because when you got the kind of speed we do have now, you have that option. You can't say we had that option necessarily. Now we have that option. You do 9 routes there down the seams there with Hyatt and Slayton. Good luck covering that if you're moving up to stop the run or stop the dink and dunk kind of pass offense. Good luck. You're gonna need it.
Yeah, especially if you set up for a obvious pass play and you play action and you do a little dink in the backfield. Guess what? Who's great at getting that yak yards?
Yakety yak.
Don't talk back unless you say Barkley.
Yeah, Barkley is pretty good at that. I question sometimes his catchability. I don't think he's quite as good a receiver as some people think he is. But when he gets the ball in the open field, he's as dangerous as they come in this league. Truly is as dangerous as they come. The other question I guess you can ask also on this is going to be who's going to be the primary receiver for the Giants in this offense, at least against the Cowboys here. We talked about how good their secondary is. They got some pretty big names out there. And you can easily make the case that while we have much better receivers, their 1-2 punch at that point of Diggs and Gilmore is definitely better than Slayton and Hodgins.
Yeah. So our number one receiver, like I've been saying all offseason, is going to be Waller.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking the same, man. I was thinking the same. I'm telling you, I would shadow
all play action.
I would shadow Waller right on Micah Parsons the whole game. Wherever Micah Parsons goes, that's where Waller's going. Good luck. Either let him get past
set up belly right there.
Yeah, it's like you let Waller get past you, and he's wide open for a catch, or you're forced to go into coverage.
Yeah,
if he's in coverage, he cannot pass rush at that point. We got to stop him somehow. You have to go ahead and scheme for a guy like that. That's a top talent in this league. But the other question is, will the pass set up the run, or will the run set up the pass in this game here? And I could see either one happening, really. But I think the Giants want to be more of a pass-heavy team this year. But I think, considering the issues we talked about with having a really good pass rush, having a really good secondary, this might be one of those games that Saquon's going to have to take over.
Yeah, I see Saquon setting up in the first quarter to second, to the half. Not having a good game, but that's what they established. And I see it being maybe like a 7-3 game going into that, or like, a 6-3 game, like a very close game in the first half. And then Giants come out and they just change the strategy to like a play action where it just opens up the fields.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, either one I could see, because I can see the benefit of either one. I mean, you start doing enough passes, you open up the run. You start doing enough runs, you open up the passes. I
also see our coaching staff looking at the setup, calling the audibles from the side, and going from there. Like, if they're set up for a pass-heavy defense, they're going to run the ball. They see like a big line, they're going to throw the ball.
I do think, though, if the Giants had their call, they'd be using the pass to set up the run. I really think they want to have a very pass-heavy offense. They want to have a more modern offense, and they don't want to run Saquon 30 times a game. I think they want to run him 15 to 18 times a game and let him catch more balls and be used in the open field like that more. I do think that's what they want. So we'll have to see if that's how it plays out there. So guess what time it is, Rob?
Oh,
you know what time it is. Before we get into the defense here, it's time to pay the bills.
Enjoying the show? Looking for more goofball action? Consider a membership at buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs. Memberships start at just $5 and give you additional goofball access. One-time support payments also available starting at just $3. buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs.
All righty, guys. It's time to talk about some defense here. Oh, yes. The defense.
That D.
The D. And, the first topic's got to be, we talked about before, that left side of the Dallas Cowboy line is hurt. It's banged up. And, the strength of our defense is really what we have up front. The defensive line, the two young edge rushers at that point, so when you can start a team off with just even the two at that point, we'll see what happens overall as far as, Robinson, his health and all. Haven't heard the update on that. So no news there from the injury this year, but you got obviously Sexy Dexy. You got Leonard Williams, two of the best defensive linemen out there. You go ahead and add in a pass rusher like Azeez Ojulari, who played half the season, less than half the season. He played 7 games. I don't have the numbers in front of me here, but I'm pretty sure like 7 games, 5.5 sacks. I mean, that's pretty damn impressive. Kayvon Thibodeau's kind of coming into his own a little bit towards the end of the year. I don't want to say Starks get 4 sacks the whole entire season there. But he looked like he was getting much more comfortable in his NFL skin as time went on in the season. So you start going with a banged up offensive line. Now, let's be honest, Cowboys really haven't dealt with having a mediocre and a bad offensive line for quite a while.
About a decade.
Yeah, this could be what they're dealing with, because if you start losing the left side of your line, or the left side of your line plays, but they're both injured, yeah, that could be a long night. That could be a really long night for that offense there. We can only hope that that's what happens. The Giants go ahead and take advantage, because it kind of levels that playing field we're talking about before with our offensive line of the issue with their pass rush. It'd be nice if the opposite was true as well.
Be nice.
Be nice.
Get a Dak. All right, get the Dak.
Yeah, the other thing I gotta wonder is, will Adoree Jackson shadow CeeDee Lamb?
I think so.
I would do that in a heartbeat. I know they're talking about playing him primarily at the slot position. CeeDee Lamb plays the slot pretty often, obviously.
I was about to say, where does CeeDee Lamb play often?
But he does go outside as well. And I'm telling you, I think 1,350 yards last year. I'm putting my top corner on this guy, and I'm gonna say, you know what, Dak, beat me with Brandon Cooks, beat me with Gallup, because those guys are nearly as good as CeeDee Lamb is. No disrespect to them, because neither one of them are bad players, but neither one of them are near to the caliber of CeeDee Lamb. Even a guy like Brandon Cooks, who had 6,000 yard seasons, he's never had a 1,350 kind of yard season, to the best of my knowledge there.
No, but he also played for Houston Texans for a very long time.
Yeah, no, he didn't. He played that long for me. He hasn't played for anybody that long. That's part of the fun of Brandon Cooks. Yeah. You're talking about a guy who went from the Saints to the Patriots to the Rams to the Texans. I mean, he's already been traded more times than I feel like anybody ever dealt with in the NFL here, and he's never gone. He had his best season, I'm looking it up right now, was 1,200 yards. His first season with the Rams. So you're talking, that's a good 4-5 seasons ago now. And other than that, all his 1,000-yard seasons have been rated 1,000 or 1,100 yards, and that's it. He's never been the dominant guy.
That's it.
CeeDee Lamb is the guy who can beat, but if CeeDee Lamb is a different player, that's the guy who can be a dominant player. He's the guy who can take over a game. I don't think that you can sit there and say that Brandon Cooks is that kind of player necessarily. I mean, if you look at what he did last time against us there, first matchup, with the Giants there, he had 87 yards and a touchdown. Last matchup we had there on the Thanksgiving Day, he had 6 catches for 106 yards. He's the guy who can take over. So like I said, if I'm the Giants and I'm Wink, I'm saying, Adoree, wherever that man goes, you go right there with him. I don't care 100%. Where he goes. I don't care where, unless he goes to the sidelines, you're with him. That's the only time you're not allowed to. You don't have to cover him, is when he's off the field. If he's on that field, you're with CeeDee Lamb, because I have less concerns putting Deonte Banks on Brandon Cooks. I'm sorry, on Brandon Cooks, and putting
Trey Hawkins
Hawkins out there on Michael Gallup.
No, I agree. Like, from the get up, like when we're talking about, like, we got 2 rookies on the outside, and we got Adoree Jackson on slot. I went week 1. I'm like, that makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes
sense in a lot of games. It makes sense in a lot of games. This is definitely one of those games. The other question you got to ask us, this is now more specifically geared towards the offense now of the Cowboys there, is how effective will Tony Pollard be as the lead back? He's coming off a pretty big injury that he had. I'm kind of shocked he's coming back so quickly, to be honest with you. I thought he might be a little bit, a week or 2 out, kind of what we're talking about with, with Wan'Dale Robinson here. But it looks like he's going to be ready to go, and he's fully healthy and ready to go. And the scary thing is, when you got a guy like Deuce as your backup, he actually is the bigger running back on the roster there, especially with Ronald Jones being suspended, and he's not going to be on there. You got Rico.
So, I mean,
and Deuce.
Pollard was a top 10 running back last year. He put up the numbers, but Zeke was also there.
I don't know about top 10.
I mean, you can look it up. I'm pretty confident he was top 10.
Are you talking about in what respect?
Well, I went fantasy, but I'm pretty sure overall, when normally you're top 10 in fantasy, you're probably top 10 overall.
Oh, you in the top 10 based on fantasy at that point. So
Yeah. You got it?
Let's see.
No?
Tony Pollard. So it depends on how you want to go with it here. What you're counting as him being one of the best. So Tony Pollard had 1,007 yards rushing, but he also had a 5.2 yard per carry average. So he's basically similar numbers to Aaron Jones as far as rushing the ball wise. Actually, Aaron Jones and him are pretty much dead on in the same exact kind of category here. That's the scary part. And Tony Pollard got a lot more press than Aaron Jones did. And I guess you can call it the cowboy bump there at that point, because obviously playing for Dallas, you do get a lot more media attention. But it's not like Aaron Jones was playing for, I'm trying to think of the Arizona Cardinals or something like that. That doesn't get a lot of press.
As a fantasy guy, as a fantasy guy, I knew all about Aaron Jones, so it's all right.
But I'm just saying, you don't hear as much talk. I mean, obviously, there's the difference in touchdowns. Pollard had 9, Jones had 2, so you can definitely have some of it there. But they got almost very similar numbers there, guys.
See, Drew, this is why we need to get you into the fantasy. This way you can see, like,
I don't want to do fantasy. I want.
This way you can sit there. This way you can sit there and be like, oh, this is what this player did.
Listen, I don't want to lose a league because they sat a player because it's week 15 and they've already wrapped up the playoffs at that point. That's what happens. Okay, it's luck of the draw. Luck of
the playoffs are no playoffs are going by then. And this day and age, no one wraps up like that unless it's week 17. Which, if you're having your Super Bowl and fantasy at week 17, you're a jerk. Well, 18 at this point.
I've been in leagues before that was 15, 16, and that's what happened is they are sort of sitting players, and I'm like, okay, well, that sucks because I need them. So, but like I said, I think that I do think he's a little bit overrated because he didn't have to do the tough things. He didn't have to do the rough things that a lot of the players had to do that are on the list is considered, the best rushers, the Jacobs, the Henrys, the Chubbs, the Barkleys, those kind of guys.
But you also have to put in a point too. It's like Zeke's always been there, and Zeke was the guy that everyone feared in that backfield. So it's like
I think
last year
the Buffets feared him a lot more last year than
last year. You're right, but coming off that, as the second back being that good, that's great being second back. Now he's going to be the star.
Yeah, he won't get arrested. He's going to be the guy doing the short yardage
stuff. Keep up to that height, being the star and not the backup to the star.
I'm not so sure.
It's like the Y2 stepping up to be the wide 1. Can he do it? There's a big difference when it comes to that play.
So here's a question for you in that regard. So, you look at who they have at running back besides him. They have basically no names that you don't know what they're gonna be because, like we said, Ronald Jones is suspended to start the year. You got Deuce Vaughn, who I think I've dropped. Deuce is bigger than him. I'm just saying, it's like nothing at that point. Their other backup has 7 career carries. Rico Doodle, is that Doodle Dwaddle? I never heard of this kid before. So I mean, you're talking like they got nothing behind him. So the question is, I guess, if Tony Pollard is not that good, let's say he can't hack it as being the only running back out there. Let's say the injury, is still affecting him. How bad is that going to be for Dallas, guys?
It's going to be horrendous because they were trying to bring back the early 90s Dallas offense with
imagine going so pass heavy with Dak Prescott.
Interception heavy.
Scary proposition.
And actually, part of me wants to say, I believe that Dak might play more conservative this year, which means he's probably going to get sacked way more.
I don't think he is. I really don't. I
Well,
think he's
listen-
greenlit more than ever.
Well, I mean, he was greenlit
So let's
last year,
get
and he
into that,
threw a lot of
that's one
picks.
of the. But let's get into that, 'cause that's one of the topics we had to talk about as it is, because it's how does the Cowboy offense now look with new offensive coordinator Brian Schottenheimer, who replaced Kellen Moore in this offseason. Kellen Moore got a lot of the blame for the issues with going on with Dak and everything. They thought it was a little too run heavy. They didn't think it let him get into a rhythm correctly. They didn't like some of the calls he made. So Brian Schottenheimer, is the guy that's been in the league for quite some years now. Yes. Is there a question from the
No,
right
there's a
side of the
statement
panel?
because from what I heard just earlier today, that McCarthy is going to be calling the offense.
I have heard that as well. And McCarthy kind of got labeled as an offensive guru, so to speak. But was he a guru, or was it Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay? Because Aaron Rodgers succeeded without him. He hasn't succeeded so far without Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, that's like any offensive coordinator that was a coordinator for the Colts when Peyton Manning was there. Oh, you did great. Peyton Manning was your quarterback. You had a great year, even though Peyton Manning called all the plays.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I'm saying I don't know if I have much faith in their offense being better, which, again, great news for a Giants fan. I think that their offense, if anything, I think it's going to get a little more confusing. I don't like when a head coach is calling plays. We've seen it before with Pat Shurmur. It's distracting. It takes away from the duties that you have to do. That is a move that you do when you're afraid for your future.
Desperation.
Yes. He is afraid from his future. Desperation by Calvin Klein. And you know what the ironic thing is? Do you know where Mike McCarthy also coached?
Where's that?
He coached under Marty Schottenheimer in Kansas City.
Oh,
so very interesting that they've gone full circle here. He coached for Marty Schottenheimer. Now Brian Schottenheimer, his son, works under him. I thought that was kind of interesting. A little side note there. So here's another good question for you. We talked a little bit about them, but how do you think the rookie corners do?
Well, I mean, I was going to get to that at the end of the episode, but if we want to go there,
let's go. We're on the defense. Let's go. We're talking too much about the Cowboys offense. We need to talk more about the Giants defense.
I mean, I was going to talk about keys to win the game. And I was going to bring up the Giants secondary, specifically the corners, because we got.
I beat you to it.
You did, you jerk. But we got two rookie corners playing in a very hard position to learn year one.
Yes.
It is their time to shine, to step up. They are the key to the Giants winning this game. If they could do what they've done all preseason, all practice squad, like everything, just keeping the ball from getting to Gallup, what's his face? As long as they keep the ball from getting to the receivers, Giants will win this game.
Yeah. I mean, I think, to me, if you just stop CeeDee Lamb, that's a huge difference. And
that's Jerry Jackson.
But that's what I'm saying. That's a huge difference right there. So it gives a little leeway. If you can shut CeeDee Lamb out of the game, it gives you a little leeway for these guys to make the rookie mistakes. They're going to make the rookies. They're going to make mistakes. They're going against guys that have been in the league for a while now. We talked about Brandon Cooks and how many years he's been in the league now. He's been on 6 teams or 17 teams or 32 teams. I feel like he's played for everybody at this point. Michael Gallup also has, been in the league, for a few years as well. So he's not old, don't get me wrong. He's still in his 20s there at that point. But, this is now going into his 6th year in the league. These are veteran players. Veteran players will typically have a little bit more moves to confuse rookies because they haven't seen it before. So I fully expect them to make a couple of mistakes. As long as they don't get crushed out there, I'm happy.
Yeah. I mean,
that's weird to say it, but that's my goal. Don't get crushed. Don't be the reason we lose the game. Hold your own. That's all I'm expecting out of the rookies.
Yeah.
So,
I don't
Alrighty.
expect a lot of picks from these guys, but I expect them to stop the ball.
Yeah. Let's get into our final thoughts here. Keys to the game, who we think is going to win, even though we kind of already went over that in the last 2 episodes, both if people were watching. But just in case they were watching or listening, they're new to the show. Let's give them that heads up there.
Well, obviously, all right.
Don't talk over the whistle. You can't talk over the whistle, Rob. You got muted because you did it. See? You muted yourself, apparently. I can't unmute you.
That was your video. You said it was gone.
Yeah, put in timeout by the system. We're trying to talk to you.
But all right, besides secondary, let's talk about these keys to the game, because there's going to be pretty much one solid pick for me, and I'm pretty sure you're going to pick the same thing. So, Drew, what's your pick to win the game?
We already talked my pick on that. So my pick, unfortunately, I hate to say it, I still think the Cowboys win the game.
No, I'm saying keys to victory. I'm sorry.
You said who's my pick to the game? We're already going into it now. I already spilled the beans. I spilled the beans because you asked the question.
Anyone that listened yesterday knew what you were picking.
Yeah, I know. But like I said, I do think it's going to be a closer matchup than it has been. I'm going to be so freaking happy if I'm wrong on this. It's just, unfortunately, the Cowboys have had the Giants' numbers the last couple of years here. And until the Giants prove otherwise, you got to bet with your head at that point. So I'm picking that the Cowboys will win in a very close contest. But the key to the game, really, if you want to look at keys to me being wrong, is Daniel Jones has got to step up and prove he is worthy of the contract he was given this offseason. He's got to command this offense. And what I mean by that is he's got to lead these guys. He's got to make the clutch moves. He's got to get touchdowns, not field goals. And that's how the Giants have a shot to win, because this is again, we've talked about it before. This is a tough Cowboys defense. I'm not so sold in the offense because I'm just not that sold on Dak. I think Dak's kind of sliding downward a little bit here in the NFL. And again, I'm not sold on Tony Pollard being a lead back because he's never been a lead back before. So I think this is a chance for the Giants to go ahead and end that streak and finally beat the Cowboys, which it feels like we haven't done in years and years at this point here. But we have a chance to break that streak, and I really hope we do. But that's going to be the big thing, is Jones has to step up. Just has to.
I agree. But how he steps up? The offensive line. The offensive line needs to step in this game. They need to make sure that they're giving him at least an extra second to throw that ball out. At least give Barkley the time to run up the middle, go up the gut, get those extra yards. So my key to victory, one of the keys to victory was the secondary, but the offensive line really has to shine in this game. This way Daniel Jones could prove exactly what you were just trying to say. He needs to go out there and ball out, and he needs the help of that offensive line.
Do you know what our record is? The 2020s here so far against the Cowboys.
Are we 0?
We're 5-1. I'm looking it up as we're talking about when's the last time the Giants won. The last time the Giants won was January 3rd, 2021. This is why I have the lack of optimism as far as that.
So we're 1-5, not 5-1.
Yes. Sorry. I'm reading it backwards because Wikipedia is showing it as at the Cowboys side because they're the winner. The last time the Giants beat the Cowboys for the decade was the 2000s. So, it's not been a very good rivalry for us guys. And it's time to change that. And
it's also not been a good decade, if you will, for the 2020s for the Giants until last year.
No.
So,
and that's why this is a key to the difference of kind of turning things around, is going ahead and making that change. So, like I said, I think Jones has got to step up. I think he's got to command this team. I think he's got to go ahead and prove he's the legit quarterback that the Giants obviously think he is by giving him that kind of money. And it's something we got to see right out week 1, right out of the gate.
Yep, I agree.
All righty, guys. So we'll be back on for you. We might do something on game day for you, pregame or whatever. Rob and I are still talking about stuff. So you got to go ahead and hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the follow, hit the bell on YouTube, so you guys get notified if we do go live on game day here, pregame, during game, halftime. We might
After
do something.
game.
We're still talking. After the game, we're definitely going to be on. We got to do the post game. So we'll be on afterwards, guys, do the post game for you. So as soon as the game's over, right over to the Two Giant Goofball page at that point on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, or just go to my LinkedIn profile. It's Rob's favorite way of getting all the live videos.
It's a beautiful view.
Absolutely freaking loves it. So hopefully I'm wrong and Rob's right, and we're celebrating a victory. That's the hope here.
In the words of Victor Feliciano.
That's a flexing. There's no words there. People on the audio podcast are like, "What's going on?
Oh wait, did we just tie? Son of a bitch! Son of a gun!
Don't even say that. I hate ties. I almost hate them worse than losing. That's the scary part. You know, how pissed off I was when John Feliciano messed up our win against the Commanders tied last year. I was livid. But yeah, guys, like I said, of course, we're always on audio podcast platforms there: Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon. So go ahead and make sure to subscribe and like us there, so we can help you out with a ride to work at that point. You're sitting in traffic, you can be talking to with the goofballs there. So again, guys, we'll be on for you guys on game day, talking post game there. May do something pregame. We'll see as far as that. And again, as always, guys, appreciate you guys listening in. Appreciate you guys watching. We will see you guys Sunday, game day.
Sunday.
All righty, guys. Appreciate it. As always, Giant fans, go G-Man!
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 G-Man! G-Man!
G-Man.
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support. If you made it this long, you must have enjoyed it. So I am sure you have followed us on all the social media platforms. Of course, you have subscribed to the show on your favorite app as well and given us a top rating. Right? Right? Right?
Thank you to those who have signed up for our silver gold levels of membership at buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs.